Now I got sound. Damn it. Every time with that thing. So basically we're coming down to the low of this spike, and at the low of the spike, yeah, and there it goes. So we've broken below yesterday's low now, and we were not able to take yesterday's high. And that's telling you how weak these overnight traders were. And these buyers, might be in trouble if we get too much lower. As far as levels down, like I was alluding to in the trade view, if we look at the ES here on the daily chart, I've drawn a trend line from a pretty far distance back, and it was on a quarterly chart, because I started to really even get deeper into these charts, because we're breaking levels. We're at a level. If we look here, let's just look on the monthly. You can see this is last April here, and this is last March. We're inside this range, and that's why I extended the range to a 15-month trading range. I know I actually saw a lot of videos yesterday on YouTube talking about a 13-month trading range, but for me, the way that I look at these ranges is, as soon as we break into the next month, we have to assume, if we get accepted in this month, that it would trade to the low and test the low, right? And especially we have these two lows here at this 15-month trading range low, right in comment, and then also the close of this bar here is very close to that 15-month trading range. So this seems like the target to me, this 37.20. I know that's 200 handles down now, but there is some opportunity for for more downside, if they can get it going, right? It doesn't look like they have the steam as of right this second, but it is starting to pick up a little bit. Let me pull this back over. So if we look at some of the sectors, we can see technology is looking weak, healthcare is looking weak, financials is looking weak, consumer discretionary is looking weak, communication services looking weak. XLP is consumer staples is looking weak, and then I just had Apple up because I shorted Apple today. I just think that there might be some more downside, but this is more of just kind of like rotation, it feels like to me. If we look over on the flex grid, we're starting to pick up some steam to the downside, right? The breadth is 2-to-1, 1-to-1 on the Nasdaq, and if we click over here on the Nasdaq, where's the Nasdaq at here? Here's the Nasdaq, and this is just on a 5 minute, so we can get a quick look. I've drawn this trend line from yesterday. You can see we opened up, this is excluding Globex hours, and we're coming back down near to test that trend line. A break below that trend line for me would really signal the downside for some of these tech stocks, and there might be some more pain ahead. You can see every sector today is red. Yesterday we had consumer staples and utilities green, and that's kind of why I was just kind of waiting for a bounce. Definitely didn't come. Obviously we broke the low at the end of the day and ended on the spike, and now we're back testing that spike right now. What I will do is post this in, I can't figure out how to delete that other Discord, so we're stuck with it forever. Apparently I'll just delete all the channels and then just post the YouTube video in there every day. I mean, it's just chaos in there, you know? You are watching on Facebook or YouTube, or Twitch, Go ahead and smash that like button for me if you don't mind. One thing I do want to talk about, and I was talking to one of our members yesterday, is about the 80% rule. He had brought it up to me, and the 80% rule basically states that if we trade two TPO periods inside the previous day's value area, there's good odds that we trade to the opposite side of the value area, right? And that is a fairly, 80% true statement. But just remember the context, right? We don't want to just be getting long because we're getting inside the value area from the previous day, right? There is always context with every trade that you take, right? None of these trades are going to be like, oh, okay, if it breaks this, then I go long, right? It's if it breaks this with that and I see this, and then, there's always um they there's always other things when you're trading that you need to be paying attention to as well, right? You can't just, blindly assume that because this is happening, that's going to be the end of it, right? We've got to make sure that the context is there, right? It would be nice to have these plays that you just take every single time, but it's always with context. So I just want you guys to remember that, and make sure that that you're always paying attention to that. Why does that stuff on the bottom looks like shit to me on the stream? It's supposed to be high def. Hmm. Morning, Tommy. Morning, Chris B. Yeah, it was a bloodbath out here, Tommy. They just sold right off. And so now we're back in yesterday's spike, right? And so during yesterday's spike, we didn't get a lot of volume, right? Not a lot at all. And so now we're coming back down. You can see Globex got a little bit of volume, but we're coming back down, seeing a little bit of volume, but only 49 contracts traded on that low. So we kind of peaked below yesterday's range, and now we're back inside today's range. And so, it's a little bit, I would say, we still want to wait to treat this day like a balanced day, but I won't be surprised if we start to balance. If we start to balance down here, and then, maybe the market starts to hit the daily. If you get some balance down here, and then the market gives us a test of this upper balance. So this is not showing us. It's the high 69. Yeah, so the high is like right here, because this is including Globex, but I'll just pull over the other chart. Oh my god. Charts. Yes. Daily. Okay, so imagine with me, if you will, we are developing a balance right here, a 2-day balance. We're coming out of this, larger balance up here, and I would say is about right there. You could, you could bring it all the way down. It could have some overlapping balance, but that just kind of looks like a peak below and fail, and then we had a peak below. And so we're getting acceptance, right? So a lot of times the market has to accept lower value by balancing, right? That's how it can. The market can't just go like this or just go like this. It's just not how it works. And so when we're looking for this balance down here, I won't be surprised if there is, more balance for the rest of the day, but I'm not going to be taking any longs until we fill you know, if we fill those single prints that are up here and then trade back down towards the low, there might be some advantageous responsive longs from down towards the lows, and some responsive shorts from the top as the market tries to balance. I do want to be careful with this upside. Like I said, I have kind of a for the first time in a while, a bullish leaning outlook. You know, and that might have been it overnight, right? That might have been the last straw. Luckily for me, I was able to get out of that position for fair value, because I went into the end of the day, you know, not looking amazing. Caesar, good morning, man. But yeah, I mean, there's also good possibility that we just keep trading lower as well. So we have to make sure that we pay attention to that. Getting towards the low now, back towards that spike. Let me show you guys. Here's some daily. So here's that gap that we had filled in. You know, market's currently down here. This next low is down here, 39.5675. And so that's where I would assume that the next target would be for the market, if it's, you know, if it's getting accepted. That it's hard to decide where these ranges are going to be when the price action is so old, because you don't know, you know, if you think about things that were valued at a certain price a year ago are not going to be valued at the same price today. You know, if you imagine, you know, a computer chip, or I mean, you just think about everything that you know about price, or anything that you trade, or anything that you own, right? If you bought a shirt for $10, and then a year from now you saw the same shirt at the same store and it was still $10, what would you think about that shirt? You'd be like, damn, that thing is kind of old. Why is it still so expensive? Would you say the tick's getting smashed? Yeah, it is. So the tick started off strong, and see here, and that weighted AD is starting to get a little bit lower, but you're starting to see some buying, and what's interesting is you're seeing them just hammer the low below 1,000. This is what happened yesterday. Until this breath starts to pick up, be wary of the low side, right? Because if you look, the fuck, if you look, oh, how come it won't let me keep it there? Okay. Well, I'll just fucking pop it out. There we go. So if you look at the market here, we can see we still have a lot of names that are green. Apple, Microsoft, Google, Brookshire, Johnson Johnson, Nvidia, ExxonMobil. So there's still a lot of bigger names that are green here. And even if we take a peek over at the market watch, that'll give you a better understanding. Even though the market seems very bearish right now, it seems like we just want to get short and just smash this thing down. But take a look at the overall market, at least today. And, you know, if some of these names start to flip over and go red, then yeah, definitely some more opportunity for the downside. But, you know, we want to take a peek at some of these names. I'll just get rid of this cumulative tick. Oh, there we go. And you can see Apple getting close to the pre-market lows here and kind of finding support on those pre-market lows. So if it starts to dump those pre-market lows, it starts to put in that in that range for yesterday. Like I said, I am short on Apple, but you know, I'm in profit already, and I'll cover as it was mostly just a day trade. But you know, if some of these names start to roll over, let's look at Microsoft real quick. Microsoft back in yesterday's aftermarket trading, finding a little bit of support. Look at Google. Google doing the same kind of thing. Amazonian is finding some support here at the lows, but looks like a weak low and a poor low to me. We'll kind of see what happens. This this looks like a lot of emotion, right? Because there wasn't like, just a panic liquidation, but it just looks like people started to sell, and then just late momentum traders just piled. I mean, because look at this thing. That's a $30 rally off the low. If this thing was just keeping selling, you wouldn't have had this many pullbacks, and the market's starting to balance a little bit lower, right? At least Amazon is. Look at Tesla. Tesla's almost back to even. Apple's moving up right now. So I'm just trying to show you guys these things, not to try to take you off of your short, but just to help you maintain perspective, right? um the odds are definitely favoring the downside, right? We accepted below, we didn't break today's high, so there's definitely more opportunity on the downside, but today is not like yesterday where every rally can be sold, I don't think. You've got to be a little bit more careful today, because if the market does pick up a rally, there's going to be some momentum traders, as we're seeing kind of late momentum traders just pile on, and you're getting those single prints above pretty much as a correction of overnight inventory. So if there is some responsive buying down here from some larger money, as there seemed to be yesterday a little bit at the settle, this market could rally back up. But we've got to be careful today. I think Bitcoin has been a great leader for us, as far as if it's holding. I've been using it for levels, and if it's holding my levels, I like the market. And right now it's kind of holding. Morning, Otto. Yeah, negative 1400. Yeah, it's just weird that it's staying pinned at that low, Tommy, when you see it like that, and for some reason it's not getting. I mean, now it's bouncing a little bit, but now it's turning back down actually, but it's below 1,000 for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 periods in a row, and we're only a couple of points, 4 points, or what's that, 6 points below yesterday's low. You would assume that if these sellers were strong, that they would be starting to pour it on. The breath is getting pretty red here, and here goes Apple. Ooh, breath just jumped from like 2 to 1 to 3 to 1 quick. Apple just went down about 0.1%, 0.2%. Apple almost just went down 0.25% just now. Ooh, here comes the steam, guys. I think this thing might just go. See, this is the thing. So there's all this selling picking up, and if it doesn't just keep smashing the low, then it's not making sense. You would assume that if the steam is picking up like everything is telling us, then we would just keep going. But for some reason, it's just not. Look, 13 contracts traded on that low. We're getting to that, max fear level. So we're seeing some similar price action to yesterday, right? We kind of did this yesterday. We put in some single prints early. We ended up closing them, getting some rotation, and ended up selling off at the end of the day. We could also go only sideways, having a balanced day. Yes, Otto, that's it. Yeah, that's actually what I was talking about before. I mean, maybe you weren't on, but yeah, I agree. I think the same thing. I think there could just be balance today. I really do. I just don't want to. I'm just being really careful with long positions until we fill some single prints, right? I don't want to. I don't want to be getting long here, just assuming that we're going to come up back above the settle. Up back above the settle would give me a little bit more confidence as we get close to these single prints, to maybe get some, you know, some short covering and some initiated buying. But yeah, until we get up into here and start to kind of test this area, I think I'd rather just sell these rallies until then, just being a bit more careful. Not really looking to short here, but you know, yeah, there's good odds for balance. Yeah, no, that's a good eye. Yeah, and that's, you know, that's kind of one of those things, like you're starting to look at something, you know, from every perspective, right? Because a lot of people still look at the market as, are we going to go up or are we going to go down, right? But they forgot that we could just trade to the right forever, right? The market can balance for a long time. We've seen the market balance for a long time, right? So that's a good eye, definitely. Yeah, I wonder if we're gonna get a little Biden pump. Let me look on YouTube and find him real quick. That says 8:30. He's just late. We'll just wait. I'll wait till he starts and then we'll start it up. Oh, right here, getting a little bit of selling. Let's see if we can get above that settle. Sellers are trying. We're trying to hold it, and this is that spot that 85.75 that sellers offered earlier, during D period, which brought us down towards the low. Nice, they give it up. I like it. See if they can get above that spike base. That could give us a little bit more confidence to start attacking some of these single prints above. We're getting that Biden pump right now. He's about to be on. Well, he's supposed to be on already. We'll see. Watch for a backfill of this thin spot. See this thin spot? If buyers step up here and hold above, that's good opportunity to maybe try a long, you know, with your stop being the settle or around the settle, to look to trade into those single prints. Watch this thin spot here. Oh, held nice. So, you know, target on this trade is going to be the 404, right? Try to cover some right before this D high. Oh, that's 403. Fuck, let me adjust this. 403.50. Okay. That 403.50, and then look for half back 14.50, and then 23.25. Spike base may be acting as a bit of resistance here. Yeah, it is. Oh shit. Quick. So it keeps skipping over the spot 89.50. You see that? Coming back down to the settle. Little volume here, but not too much. Back to that 85.75. That's a number you need to write down. 85.75. Back below. Turn around quick. Back to the 85.75 here. We're just kind of going back and forth over this area. So remember, like, what kind of what's happening here, it looks like we're seeing, you know, this kind of big volume come in down here, and then we're seeing where the seller's trying to come in at right here around this 85.75, same spot they came in earlier, and then above right here, right? I mean, kind of right where that E came down to, that D hat or the D open, the spike base, you know, it seems like very mechanical, but you know, it's fairly obvious where they're going to come in at, or where they've been coming in at, I guess. Not where they're going to, just where they've been coming in at. It just looks like they just can't get any steam, right? These sellers, they're trying. There's a lot of volume coming down. Really, it's just a matter of if buyers just, you know, give up and they just decide, you know what, I bought enough here. And that's kind of a lot of times how we've been getting downside. It hasn't seemed like there's been a ton of selling. It just seems like the buyers go on strike and price just drops, right? Buyers are just like, yeah, I'm only buying this many, you know, until we get down to a different value, and then they start to buy. You know, that's kind of what we've been seeing lately. We haven't seen a ton of selling, really. Not today, at least. So let's see if these sellers are going to move down. That's what we're waiting for. So we know the sellers here, 85.75, right, is what we've been looking. We want to see if they can move down and, you know, continue to sell this market lower. And in order to do that, their target's going to be that 77.50, and they need to get below 77.50 and hold below. All right, that's kind of where the volume starts to go down. So coming close to that 77.50 level here. Oh shit. EA Sports is getting clapped right now. There might be some opportunity on there. They ended their FIFA partnership. 2-decade video game partnership ended. FIFA and EA Sports. Oh, me too, Tommy. Me too. Me too. All of them. Fucking 2K as well. NBA 2K. Nothing like making my alter ego Brad Bradley, who's a 7-foot center, built like Shaq, and just dunks a ball on you all the time.
They're like, if you want to be that size, mate, you're gonna have to pay for it.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
You want these good players, mate? Like the whole reason why you buy the game, you're gonna have to pay for them, mate.
Yeah,
It's like
it's
it's
genius.
just it's crazy. Yeah, you spend way more on the game than actually like the purchase of the game.
Especially like, you know, like every game has added that since Fortnite. I mean some of these games have had it before, but since Fortnite added like skins, now all these games are selling like special kits, and you know, you can buy stadiums and all that too. So it's like they just find every way to be like, and you're like, oh damn, that's cool. I need that.
Yeah, they get you the worst on the sports games as well, because like if you don't have the good players and the other players got the good players, you're just already at a disadvantage. So they
Right.
like kind of sucker you into buying them.
The worst is when you buy some of those packs and then you get just shit.
Nothing.
Oh, it's the
Yeah.
worst.
I know all about that, mate. I know all about that.
Oh, I get so mad. I'm like, what is the point of this?
And then I'm looking at my team like, nah, this team's it's just still not good enough. I need some more packs. It's like Pokemon for adults.
Exactly. Yep.
And they know if you love a sport, you're gonna do it, like you're gonna do your best to get the players you want.
Oh, right. Yeah, it's just that competitive nature, and everybody just, especially when you play online too, and you can like chat with the other person, you're just like, oh, fucking
Yeah,
hell.
they smash you down with like Ronaldo or something. You're like, man, I need more players.
Yeah. You're like, if I had Ronaldo, I would just win. Oh, they got the stage on. Biden might be coming out soon.
You've ever seen the tick hit like consistently down at these like real lows?
It was doing this yesterday.
No,
Um,
I mean like recently, like the last
oh,
few weeks or so. I've never seen like multiple ticks like under the thousand. Like most of the day almost is finished under the thousand.
yeah. Not yeah, not definitely not recently. I mean, back during like 2020, we got a lot of days like this. But yeah, not recently, that's for sure.
Because every now and again you get maybe one or two, but it seems like consistently we're hitting these real low readings.
Where's this guy at, dude? What's he doing? I guess when you're the president, you can do whatever the fuck you want, but still, it's like. So remember, if we do break the low, we're looking for that what was it, 55.75? Where is it at? Let me look. Yes, what's that low? Oh, red just hitting the board here. Back at the low. Apple's still up 1% though. It seems like the bounces are bigger than these drawbacks. See if they give it again. I mean, 13 contracts traded on the low. If it holds that 13 and it didn't break the Globex low, that's kind of telling you something. Until it breaks that Globex low. Once it breaks the Globex low, it could just unleash all hell, and then you start to see everyone that's holding in Globex that has their stop down there capitulate and then trade lower. But until then, I just can't get short right here, much as I may want to. The breath is picking up a little bit, 3.5 to 1. Nice. I like that. Yucky low. Yeah. We're spending a lot of time down here, but it just doesn't doesn't go anywhere. See what I mean? Like it just keeps rallying back up. Oh and look at this too. Um Twitter's at $46, and I'm pretty sure the deal was for $53, right? Didn't Elon agree to buy for $53? So I mean, when you talk about how much money he's buying it for, and he's paying $53 a share, that becomes a little like, buying something for too much. You know what I mean? Actively. $44? What's $44? 44B? What are we talking about here? Oh, 44 billion. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, 44 billion. Yeah, but I think it was like 52 or $53 a share. Oil's back down below 100. Biden might step up and be like, guess what, people? I'm 54.20 a share. Oh damn. Yeah, I mean, so yeah, he's $10 down then per share. So 10, ouch. Imagine if you were buying something for $44 billion and you're paying $10 more for every share than it's worth. That's tough. Biden's gonna come on, talk about how oil's under $100 and say you're welcome, and then maybe the market will just catch a little paparuski. Ooh, looks like it wants a low now. Yeah, it looks like it wants that low. Ooh, yeah, it's starting to pick up a little tempo to the downside. Notice how it, like, when it pops down like that, right? It was, we were kind of getting a little bit of just back and forth here, and then all of a sudden it's just popped down, and it's just like, I like it down here, I like it down here, right? And so these sellers are trying to move down to sell it, and for some reason they just can't get going. I mean, it looks like it wants to go. It's hanging out down here. It's picking up steam. It wants to do it. You know, we can just tell. There it goes. Let's just see if it wants to hold. Still not breaking that Globex low. $100 contracts straight on the low that time. Yeah, he didn't buy it to make money yet. I'm sure he'll figure out a way to make money. But yeah, I agree. He just bought it, so he told us for free speech. It's cool. So notice how we broke the low, but we didn't get any continuation, right? And then we're back up into the previous day's range again. They wanted to get it, they got it just a little bit, and then that's it. It's almost like, you know, a buyer's down there like with his fucking fishing reel and a dollar bill. Like, ooh, you almost got it. And then they came and they got it, and guess what? He was like, psych, and you know, just fucking ripped it back up. That's why we can't get short at the lows. Not today. Remember, this E high is mechanical too. So just be careful for that. Okay, Biden's here. Hang on.
To address the number one challenge facing families today, inflation. This will not be my only speech on inflation, I'm sure, but when we look at the economy today,
Can you guys hear it?
we've made enormous strides. And our plans and our policies have produced the strongest job creation economy in modern times. In addition, 8.3 million jobs in my first 15 months in office at a record. Unemployment rates were down to 3.6%, the fastest decline in unemployment to start a presidential term ever recorded. And in addition, Americans have applied to start 5.4 million new small businesses last year, 20% more than any other year on record. And I see, and as I see it, everything across.
Let me know if you guys can hear him on YouTube. If you can't, just comment and I'll raise him up.
From being on the mend to on the move.
F period's opening up.
For every worker I met who's gained a little bit of breathing room to seek out a better paying job, for every entrepreneur who's gained the confidence to pursue their small business dreams, I know the families all across America are hurting because of inflation. I understand what it feels like. I come from a family where when the price of gas or food went up, we felt it. It was a discussion at the kitchen table. I want every American to know that I'm taking inflation very seriously, and it's my top domestic priority. And I'm here today to talk about solutions, and there's going to be more we're going to have to talk about as well. But first, I want us to be crystal clear about the problem. There are two.
Pay attention to developing value, guys. We have 3 TPOs here lower, developing lower in yesterday's spike, right?
And through the supply chains and demand completely out of whack, especially in countries where more effective recovery responses weren't available, especially in those sectors that rely on semiconductors. These supply challenges have been further hampered by the onset of Delta and Omicron viruses. And you've all seen it, you've all felt it. And this year we have a second cause.
Back at that 85.75 again. Remember, this was a big level. If the buyers get above it, you might see some short covering, take us back up above that spike base.
Was due to price increases at the pump for gasoline. Putin's war has raised food prices as well, because Ukraine and Russia, 2 of the world's major bread baskets for wheat and corn, are essentially completely stalled. Ukraine has 20 million tons of grain in storage in silos right now. They're trying to figure out how to get out of the country to market, which would reduce prices around the world. Normally we'd have already begun to export them into the market, but it hasn't because of Putin's invasion. So we're working with our European partners to get this food out into the world so they could help bring down prices. But it's difficult because, again, of Putin and the Russian invasion of Ukraine. And those 2 major contributors to inflation are both global in nature. That's why we're seeing historic inflation in countries all over the world. But here's the good news. Because of the actions we've taken, America's in the stronger position to meet this challenge than just about any other country in the world. Some of the roots of the inflation are outside of our control, to state the obvious. But there are things we can do and we can address.
Remember, to get busy, these sellers need to get price below 77.50 and hold it below there.
Primary role in fighting inflation.
So we're in this 85.75 to 77.50. Above 85.75, you could see some short covering to go fix that mechanical high, that E high. We're right there right now, and the sellers come back in.
Second is stable prices. And while I'll never interfere with the Fed's judgments and decisions or tell them what they have to do, they're independent. They're independent. I believe that inflation is our top economic challenge right now, and I think they do too. We've built a strong economy.
We have 2 mechanical references here. That E high is right at the D open, and that F high is right at the settle.
Is the strength, and that strength that we built is inflation. So the Fed should do its job, and it will do its job, I'm convinced, with that in mind. Now, as I said when I came to what Congress and the President can do to fight inflation, Americans have 2 potential paths forward. The first is my plan, the Democratic plan put forward by congressional Republicans as a second alternative. Here's how each of us would tackle inflation. My plan is to lower
Apple's up 1.5%. This is what I was saying. That the bounces are a lot bigger than the pullbacks. Even though the tick has a lot of selling in it, it's not in the weighted sectors. It's in the lower stocks. So a lot of the stocks in the NYSE are getting sold off, but not any of the big ones, the market moving ones. Google's up 2% right now. Microsoft 1.5%, Apple almost 1.5%, Facebook almost 1%, Tesla's up 1%, Amazon's green.
Let me explain why this choice is so important. Let me start with the...
So they fix that mechanical high at the settle. They're going to have to auction back down to see if their friends are still available.
My plan is already in motion. I led the world...
Now we're back in that 85.75 to 77.50 range.
Release of oil from our stockpiles of all the countries in history. 240 million barrels to boost global supply. Here at home, U.S. oil and gas production is approaching record levels. In fact, we produced more oil domestically in my first year in office than my predecessor did in his first year. To further drive down prices, my administration is allowing the sale of gasoline using homegrown biofuels this summer, which wasn't allowed before, and to reduce our dependence on foreign oil and reckless autocrats like Putin. I'm working with Congress to pass landmark investments to help build a clean energy future as well. From tax credits for businesses to produce renewable energy, to tax credits for families to make their homes more energy efficient. I met with nearly a dozen CEOs of America's largest utility companies, and they, to a person, told me that, and including Southern Company, American Electric Power, and 10 others. They confirm that if we pass the investments I'm talking about, will immediately lower.
Notice all the volume coming in down here, but it's not below yesterday's range. It's in yesterday's excess, almost like people are agreeing that this is a fair price to trade down here. So what I want you to do from here, until we start to fill these singles, imagine that the profile is just looking like this, right? Like a balanced profile. Excess on the high, excess on the high, excess on the low. And now we're getting balance. And this kind of, this 77 or 85.75 to 77.50 is more of a chop zone than anything. And, we want to wait to see reactions at the edges, right?
Without producing, while shipping record profits back to their investors. The fact is, the average cost of a barrel of oil has been steady for weeks. So why do gas prices keep going up so high? Republicans have offered plenty of blame, but not a single solution to actually bring down the energy prices. We have no plan. They have no plan to bring down energy prices today. No plan to get us to a cleaner, energy independent future tomorrow. So in the future, American families are no longer subject to the whims of dictators halfway around the world. The next thing is, let's compare our plans when it comes to lowering everyday cost. My plan is to make concrete, common sense steps to bring down the biggest expenses that families are facing. Let's take drug prices. My plan will let Medicare negotiate prices for prescription drugs, like they do with the Department of with the military, as it relates to what the administration is able to negotiate for prices for military. The cap, and I also call for a cap on the price of insulin, which 200,000 American children rely on because they have type 2 diabetes at $35 a month. Costs $10 to make the insulin. They make a significant.
He meant type 1.
Instead of the average price of about $640 a month. Think of the difference it will make in millions of
Apple's back down to 1%, so this time it's coming back down a little bit. So this move down was actually pretty decent here, so be careful on these lows. Amazon flipped back to red. Tesla's barely hanging on to green. Tick's getting below 1,000 again.
And that's in addition to the work my administration has already done to lower prices. Another reason why prices are up for products people need relates to whether or not the manufacturer has access to all the materials they need to build a product. Think of the materials you need to build a house. If you can't get the materials from the ship to shore, from the shore to the home, the prices are going to go up. That's why we brought labor and industry together on the West Coast to improve operations at the ports, to speed up the transfer of products from abroad to shore, from shore to the...
A big bid stepping up, trying to chase price right there, looking to get filled. It almost looked like this thing might bounce. If that was a buy stop, that was at 71. So just watch that 71 level. As long as the market stays below 71, could definitely keep going down. But if it gets above 71, you're going to see a pop most likely.
Another problem we face is in some industries, there isn't.
Let's see if they can keep going for that low here.
And I've often said that capitalism without competition isn't capitalism, it's exploitation.
What's up, Kevin?
Promoting competition for everything from internet services to meat processing. We basically have 4 meat processors in the whole country. They process the meat that goes into the hamburgers you buy. So they set the price. When there's no competition, they can set the price higher and higher. So we're helping smaller companies get into the game to compete and help bring down the overall prices. The bottom line is easing these bottlenecks and making our supply chains more secure is a major focus of my economic strategy. So things move more quickly. Prices go down, not up. You know, some parts of my plan I've been able to get done on my own. I mean, just without congressional approval. Some parts are being held up by Congress. Well, all of my plan is focused on lowering costs for the average family.
Am I a bull or bear here? Confused? Nothing, hit a mic. I told you, bro. I'm a tiger, bro.
They don't want to solve inflation by
or a lion, you know, king of the jungle.
Solve it by raising your taxes and lowering your income.
It's I'm just not convinced of anything yet. Not convinced of the downside, not convinced of the upside. If I'm being 100% honest, I'm honestly looking for a bounce. Just kind of waiting for it to set up correctly. And there we go above 71, and then boom, the pop comes, right? And that's what I was saying. That 71 level looked like where sellers came in to try. And let's see if they try it again here at the 71. But it looks like that's what it looked like, a buy stop to me, to be honest with you. Like someone was just getting out of a big short.
75 million American families.
But we'll watch it, but that's kind of what it looks like. It looked like to me, at least.
Total income. The average tax increase would be about $1,500 per family.
Back to the 71.
I proposed
Wild ones. What's up, my man?
For billionaires. In recent years, the average billionaire has paid about 8%
Quite the pop
of
there.
federal taxes. Congressional Republicans have proposed increasing taxes on teachers and firefighters. 55% of the largest corporations paid net zero.
Watch the 85-75.
On $40 million profits. It just isn't right.
What's up, bro? Getting close to fixing your chart. How many charts do you have open?
Raise taxes on 82% of small business owners.
Biden is completing sentences. Well, he did call type 2 diabetes. He meant to say type 1, so that wasn't great.
Big corporations and companies.
Do you use indicators or price action? I use this TPO, so I mean, I'm using value. I trade value. I don't know if you ever heard that, but that's what I do, and that is the way that I've been able to understand the auction and be able to, you know, trade successfully and consistently for an extended period of time. You know, it's not as simple as indicators or price action. I don't think, you know, there's a lot more that goes into understanding the actual auction. And until you understand the auction, I think using, you know, price action, I'm using quotations, you know, like a footprint chart or something like that, or indicators, you know, RSI, I mean, I can name a million, I guess, but using any of those things before you actually understand what the auction process is just a disservice to yourself. And so by understanding the TPO, that's going to help you understand what the auction is, and it'll give you, you know, better entries, a better idea of what the market is actually trying to do, and if the market is doing a good job at what it's trying to do. All right, so you get a lot better information, a lot more consistent information from a profile.
Ask those companies to pay their fair share in taxes. Congressional Republican plan, let them off scot-free.
Watch that 71 again as it comes back down.
The Congressional Republican agenda, they put it in writing. It also calls on Congress to put put Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid on the chopping block every 5 years. Now, if I hadn't seen it in writing, I think somebody's making this up. Their proposal is every 5 years, all those programs would cease unless they're re-voted. That the Congress comes along and says, yeah, we want to keep these plans, affirmatively voting for them. Well, imagine the changes are going to take place then, man. Imagine all the bargaining that's going to take place. You Democrats want to maintain Social Security, you got to give up such and such. Look, I want to give Medicare the power to negotiate drug prices and make it stronger and lower your cost. Republicans kind of want to make, and Congress want to make Medicare's very existence up for vote over and over again. Along with
Yeah, it
Social
makes no sense.
Security
We're the
and
largest
Medicaid.
buyer of drugs in the world, and we can't negotiate
Really ask
prices.
yourself,
At least Medicare can't.
how
VA
well
can,
are we
not
going to
Medicare.
sleep at
So
night
one part of our government
knowing
can,
that every
another
5
part can't.
years, MAGA
It just shows the
I'm kidding.
collusion.
They're still
It's unreal.
the Republican. This is, I just said,
Collusion.
it's your father's Republican Party. If we're going to have to vote on whether you will have Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and what amounts you'll have in each of those programs.
It'd be
You
great
know
about
what they're
Mexico.
likely to do? Use them as hostages.
Hopefully the
every
president
5
won't,
years to get their way on
get
other
suicided.
things. Think about it. Give us another tax cut for billionaires or Social
You know that
Security
four
gets it.
presidents have been killed in
Stop
the
investing in
last
clean energy,
couple months.
or you're
The
gonna,
four presidents
or
that were
you're gonna
against
kiss your Medicaid
the
goodbye.
jab.
It's outrageous. It's outrageous.
I didn't know that.
I can't believe
Yeah,
that
I
the
mean,
majority of
and that,
Republicans
that's incredible too. I didn't
buy
either.
honest Scott's
The
plan.
four
But that's a
world
plan,
leaders
and
been
right,
murdered
he's in leadership.
in the
Finally,
last month or two.
Let's
Haven't
do
you heard
one
it?
more
Everybody?
comparison. Let's compare our two plans when it comes to the deficit.
Well, serious
Republicans
debt
love to
anyway.
attack me as a big spender, as if that's a reason
Back at
why I'm
that 71 level again. Bounces
Let's
again.
compare the facts. Under my predecessor, the deficit exploded. raising
Yes, I use Sierra
rising
charts.
every single year.
Face of crypto, what's up, bro?
Under my plan, we're on track to cut the federal deficit.
Yeah, so this
by
is Sierra charts up here.
$1.5 trillion this year. Let me say it again, $1.5 trillion by the end of this fiscal year. The biggest one-year decline in all of history for America. That's in addition to last year, we cut the budget $350 billion, the deficit. Not the
You have a
budget, the
range
deficit,
momentum and one for
$350
5
billion.
minute recent volume and a 30-minute chart overall
My
volume.
Treasury Department is planning
My
to pay down
for
the national
orders,
debt
but also
this
have the
quarter,
ES and MES data.
which never happened under my predecessor.
Oh, okay. I mean, that's not that many. I thought you were rocking like 30 charts or something.
Unlike my
But
predecessor,
yeah, that's not. That's just.
the deficit has
something.
gone down both years I've been here.
I am not in a position right now. No,
That
I'd
is
like to
not
see us
a
get
distraction.
above that 75
Matters.
or 85, 75 and hold, and then maybe try it from there because I think there is some selling that was at the 88. So if we pop that 88, we could be looking to
Bottom
test
line is
this E high, which seemed
Americans
mechanical.
have a choice right now between two paths, reflecting two
It
very
just
different
looks like,
sets
I
of
mean,
values.
sellers are really trying here. The Brett's
plan,
3.5,
tax
Apple's
inflation,
about
growth
1%. Amazon's picking up a little bit of steam to the downside, which is holding us down now here. The tick is getting pretty low, so everything is kind of leaning to the downside, but we just haven't got the follow through to the downside that,
The other path
that you would assume would be easily coming.
forward by congressional
And every time we do get towards the low, we see some, what looks like to me, profit taking from sellers. Like, so it looks like there's some people that are short taking profit today. And yesterday it kind of looked like people were, longer term money was kind of buying in.
Just like
So
they did the last time they were in power. When their top priority was the reckless $2 trillion tax cut, majority of that going to the very wealthy.
the VIX is popping up too, Tommy.
Which ballooned the deficit, and not a penny of it was paid for. Look, I know you gotta be frustrated. I know.
I love when he whispers. I know.
Frustrated by high prices, by gridlock in Congress, by the time it takes to get anything done. Believe me, I
Leave me.
understand the frustration. But the fact is, congressional Republicans, not all of them, but the mega Republicans are counting on you.
Oh yeah, that's definitely gonna impact.
Pace of progress.
Yeah, when I was using Ninja, even on Sierra, I'm only loading like the days that are in this contract, so only really loading back to January.
Enact their extreme agenda.
If I need to go farther back, I just look at
We'll put up on a
TD.
webpage somewhere. I think I can do this.
but picking up a little bit of steam, holding below this 71 here.
We need to
See if
get
they
really
can
focused on what
keep it
families
going this
actually
time.
need. That's why I urge all Americans to think about the path I've laid forward. We're gonna have to do more beyond what I laid forward. But then think about the Republicans in Congress are actually proposing. Which path is right for you and for your family? and quite frankly, for America. Let's build on the extraordinary process and progress we've made.
We got, you know, 9 minutes until the next period opens up, till we get
It
G
matters to average Americans. I want to thank you all. God bless you, and may God protect our troops.
He's gonna take some questions.
They're going to ask me about what I spoke about.
Mr. President, why do you believe so many Americans believe that your administration is not doing enough to combat inflation? And do you believe that you and your administration bear some measure of responsibility for the inflation that we're seeing across the country?
Market's coming down, holding below the 71 now. See if they can get any extension here.
Right, we control all three branches of the government. Well, we don't really. We have 50-50 in the Senate. You need 60 votes to get major things done. I've been pushing the things I've been proposing here, and you've heard me speak to today since I got in office. And I need to get
Passing the
60 votes
blame.
to be able to even pass this. Number one. Number two, I think that you know, they're not.
Yeah, Tommy, this is a risky spot to be getting long or short, to be honest.
They get a
Only 13
5%
contracts traded on
raise,
that
average
low
raise
right
in
there.
salaries, and yet
That F
inflation
low.
exceeds that. And they look around the world, and they know that a lot of it's extremely complicated. And so they're frustrated, and I don't blame them. I really don't blame them. There's a lot we have to do. But you know as well, I shouldn't say you, I think what I have to do is explain in simple, straightforward language what's going on. Like, the reason why 30% of the inflation last year is because automobiles cost more. Why'd they cost more? They couldn't get the computer chips to make them. People were making a lot more money. They wanted to buy the automobiles, they couldn't buy them because the cost went up.
Remember, that next level down is 39.5675. If the market does break the low, that will probably be the destination. It's just struggling here, and we're getting back up to that 71 level. And it just pops back up. So you know there's people shorting mechanically off that 71 as well.
The vast majority
That's what
of
that's
Americans
telling you
hope
there.
that their government just takes care of the problem. And they don't have to think about it in detail at the kitchen table or at the dinner table. And that's understandable, no matter what their background. But right now, it's confusing. There's a war in Ukraine. And they're scratching their heads like, what the heck is Russia doing? Should we be helping? They think we should be helping the innocent Ukrainians. But what impact does that have? Do you think the average person, whether they have a PhD or they have any other job, sits and thinks, wow, there's thousands of tons of grain in elevators in Ukraine that can't get out. And Ukraine's one of the biggest producers of corn and wheat.
And the same shit you just said.
I wonder whether that's the reason my prices are up.
And do you take any responsibility for the inflation in this country? Do you take any responsibility for your policies?
I think our policies help, not hurt.
He's probably he just seems fed up, like, with everyone's bullshit, because he just probably just deals with, you know, bullshit from the left, bullshit from the right, and he's just fed up, like, all around. He's like, I'm too old for this shit.
Because of spending.
Little Danny Glover in
Brought
there.
down the deficit. The bottom line is, how much does America owe? How much in the hole are we going? We're reducing that.
Today you have retail gasoline prices and diesel prices at record highs.
Yes.
Yet you have yet to ask Americans to.
A lot of volume coming in down here.
Have you ever thought of your administration asking Americans?
And the market's holding here.
To drive less, to take public transport?
Well, if you ever raised a family like mine, you don't have to tell them. They're doing everything in their power to figure out how not to have to show up at the gas pump. That's why, for example, one of the things that's going to help a lot, but it's going to take time, is our infrastructure bill. The truth is, they don't have that many options in terms of transportation around the country right now. If you live in the Northeast Corridor, you do. If you're driving back and forth
One
between
question at a time, Jesus
Baltimore,
Christ.
Washington, New York, etc. But you don't have many choices. You don't have a whole lot of choices to deal with other aspects of transportation in terms of local transportation. And so what happens is,
I feel like since the U.S. bailed out Ford and GM, we should just be like, listen, if you guys want to keep making cars, they've just got to be electric, all of them.
So this is a
Save on
process.
gas. Boom.
But it's a process that I've been consistent about, wanting to lower prices
And if they don't want it,
and shift
be like,
to
listen,
renewable
the only
energy.
reason you're still a company is because of me, my
I have
tax dollars. So
conversations almost
fucking bad.
Well, that's an exaggeration. At least twice a week with one of my European counterparts, heads of state. And how can we help them, in fact, wean themselves off of Russian oil because they're so totally dependent.
Back at the 71.
We're working like the devil to help them transition, because as long as Russia's able to make money selling oil, they're going to continue to be able to do.
We're looking for acceptance here below this spike. We haven't got it yet.
It's really complicated.
But if we get acceptance below the spike, that 56.75,
You know, they're working.
you know, it's
18
not
hours a day
not
just to put
very
food on the table.
much lower.
And so I think what's happened is we have, in a sense, I never expected. Let me say this carefully. I never expected
Uh-oh.
the ultra MAGA Republicans who seem to control the Republican Party now to have been able to control the Republican Party. I never anticipated that happening.
Below that, 39.3375 is the next low that I have.
Administration was saying that inflation was transitory. That's obviously not the case now. How long do you think it will be until we see prices coming down?
I'm not going to predict that. It ranges depending on which economists you're talking to by the end of this year, and some say it's going to increase next year. But there's others say by the end of this year you're going to see it come down by the calendar year. I don't know, but I know what we have to do to make sure that we can bring it down.
Well, if you know, fucking let's go.
Any restrictions on abortion, or what limits do you believe there should be as the
Well, yeah, that's the thing, Tommy. If they truly wanted to prepare for something like that, Jesus, they're yelling in my ear. If they truly want to prepare for something like that, then basically what they need to do is just make it mandatory and make it affordable. So they're gonna have to bite the bullet. You know what I mean? Or else they're just gonna, or else we just have to suffer with
Senator added later.
high gas prices.
Joe Biden is unwell, he's unfit for office, he's incoherent, incapacitated, and confused. These are his words. Offering him a chance to...
Look at him smile.
I think the man has a problem.
Oh, he's so funny, bro. He's just funny, man. I don't understand. It's just comedy.
Right now, we're looking at what had the most positive impact.
To erase them.
No, I didn't say that.
I'm asking.
I'm telling you, we're discussing it, and no decision. is
Raise those eyebrows. Don't make me call you a son of a bitch.
Thank you, guys.
Oh, he's out.
Thank you all.
He's had enough of that shit. That's so funny, man. He's just like... Remember, Biden's Irish, too, so he's probably got a little... I mean, he's old now, but maybe back in his day, he might have had a couple punches in him, you know? Now, that's what we should do. Grudge match. Biden, Trump. Battle. Let's see if those little Burger King Jr. hands can do some damage. All right, we're picking up tempo. Biden just jumped off. The market's starting to pick up a little bit of tempo here down towards the low. Let's see if it can hold below the 71. I mean, you can see this. The reason that this just looks so mechanical is because people are selling yesterday's low. That's what it looks like. But it could just be people... I don't know. To me, it looks like people are just selling yesterday's low. And people are just buying below yesterday's low. So really, it's just going to matter on who's got the most friends here. Let's see. Here we go. G period opens up. Let's see what G gives us. So it doesn't take the low, pops up above that 71, runs some stops. People push it back down. They're just fighting over yesterday's low back and forth here. It looks like it might come down to that 60 here. Look for this 60. I think it might want to come down to if it breaks. Let's trying. There it goes. There's that 60. Picking up some steam here. Remember, 56.75 was the target. That's pretty close. Well, it's dead on. So now let's see if it gets a bounce. This is off of a prior day's low. Goes through. Next level down is the 33. We have 39.50 down here, but 33 is the next level down. $696 lots sitting on the 50. What's that?
Just off daily lows.
Yeah.
The levels that you're using on the downside.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the daily lows. It's hard to look at the value from back then.
So far back, yeah.
Unless you had the data like saved on your computer from those old contracts to see like what it really is, but there's no way like these old even on kinetic data, which is like fucking waste of money, but it's not amazing. No offense
Could be
to
like
kinetic.
skewed, right?
Yeah, it's just
So, like,
not. Yeah, it's just not as accurate.
It's not precise, so yeah.
And even like in Jim's books,
Are people even looking at value that far back anyway, you know? Like,
yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, I think they're more just looking at the bracket, like the high and the low and the mid. I think that's really all they're looking at.
what about like a daily balance of like 5 days or something? Would you count something like that or not?
Yeah, because that would be part of the bracket. Yeah, so like if we look at the let me pull the ES over. So if we look at the ES here, and we can kind of see, I mean, this whole area here is kind of a balance, and this was previous, like above where we're at now, but this whole area was kind of like that weird balance on the weekly. But yeah, as we go farther back, you kind of see, same thing here. I would say you're probably getting
Just like general levels when you're going back,
yeah,
like visual levels.
right, exactly, visual, something that everyone else is gonna be able to recognize. And then basically at that point, you're just looking for the psychology for the reaction. And there's a lot of volume sitting down here on the 39.50, so it makes sense if the market's able to go down there and get a little bit of action.
Because when you load back that file with the TPOs, it just gets a bit crazy.
Yeah, it's just like it's like not even there.
It's kind of irrelevant, isn't it? What you're looking at anyway.
Right.
So literally, you're just looking at the lows from the daily sort of visual levels, and that's
Right.
that's it really when you're looking back, right?
So what I do is I'm looking at, you kind of zoom this in. I'm just looking at spots where like right here, it seems like we need to kind of fill this in. So if I just get my box tool, it kind of seems like this was just a weak spot, right? The market traded through it really quick, back tested, and then kind of just kept going up. So it makes sense for me to the market to come back down here. I mean, you can kind of see, I would say there's like a little bit of a balance zone here below this. And so we're peaking kind of into that balance, acceptance in that balance, probably test this low here, and then ultimate target ends up being that low. But if we do retreat back up, I think we could spend a significant amount of time in this area where that prior gap was and just kind of balance here before deciding what the market wants to do.
Just backfill it.
Right, exactly.
Just like kind of like on a bigger scale, right?
Exactly. That's a best way to look at it. It's like you take and that's why it's so important to start understanding the daily profile, and then when you understand the daily profile, you just start applying that to the rest of the market, anything that you trade or whatever it is like that, and then you're set almost. It's like what's this all about? What's going on here? Oh, okay. So, sorry guys, my like Zoom thing popped up and it was like taking up my whole screen. But yeah, like once you really understand that daily profile, you can easily just start applying that to everything else, and do it here, right? Like, so if we take Bitcoin, and let's look at Bitcoin futures, just for the sake of because that's what I like to look at, is the Bitcoin futures. Okay, so we can see the gap down on the Bitcoin futures over the weekend, right? And so when we look back, at least on the daily, there's a gap down here at 24,000. So to me, and if we zoom out here, to me, and Bitcoin's balance areas are, kind of large sometimes, but you could probably draw some balance like this, right? So we're inside that balance towards the low. If we break this low, this kind of 28,000 level, the target most likely is here around this, in between this 24 and 28,000. And that would be the spot that would make sense for Bitcoin to pull down and try to gain some balance before heading higher. The only issue with that is it kind of throws off this larger term trend if it does pull back that far. Let me switch to the monthly. So if it does pull back into that gap, let's just go to the weekly. I guess that's a little bit too far. If it does pull into this gap, it kind of throws off this massive bull trend. And I think if we do pull back into this area and hold, this might be Bitcoin. 25,000 might be where it's at. KO Rach, what's up? And that's a very real possibility, and so you've got to be prepared for something like that. And that's why, when we're looking at this, if we were to kind of like jam it into a profile, so far we're just kind of seeing this giant P profile, which is indicative of shorts covering. And we know that, all of these big name money people had, the shortest opinion on Bitcoin, on crypto in general, right? They just assumed that that it was never going to go anywhere, it's never going to be worth anything, blah blah blah. And so, it kind of looks like a P profile to me long term. And sometimes a P shape can weaken a market, as we know that, most of the buying in here was shorts covering, right? And we know, because there was a lot of people that were short on Bitcoin even as it went up every day. They're like, it's gonna crash, Bitcoin's shit, blah blah blah, and then they got punished hard. But that doesn't mean that we can't break that low. And if we do break that low, like that 20, really I'm looking at 28,000. If we break it below 28,000, that could bring us back into this lower level. Apple's coming down here. Amazon's almost down 1%, so Amazon's flipped pretty red here. Microsoft's still green, Google's still green, but a lot of stuff turning down. Nvidia's still looking okay. Notice the tempo on the way back up this time, starting to pick up. So remember our levels, we're watching 71. That's where a lot of sellers came in. So above 71, you could get a little pop to the upside. Then you're looking for that 85.75 again. Right, and that's kind of where sellers have been in control lately, is from that 71 to 85.75 level. And so as long as they can keep it below that 71, these shorts are definitely still in control here. Above that 71, we may see some short covering, right? Especially because they've got a chance to look lower, and prices pretty decent move off the low, about 10 handles now. Yeah, watch it here. It looks like they're wanting to pop the 70 here. It looks like a seller is getting nervous and getting ready to cover. So be careful for a pop here if you're in a short. I close it this way. In the 71 still. Be careful here. Bitcoin's doing a pretty decent job. This is one thing that Mind Warp and I were talking about last night, is that if Bitcoin holds this 3841, there's good chance that it can trade back up to that 33K. It might take some time, but there is some good possibility. Does look like a little bit of short covering here though. So if it does break down, it could give a little Spillaruski too. Everything's at like a, I think a lot of things in the market right now are just at these spots where you're getting close to people just really selling the farm or taking all their cash that's on the sidelines and just buying the dip. But they just don't know what to do because the fear is so high. Apple's still kind of just balancing lower, but picking up some steam to the upside here. Watch the 71. Still holding, still holding. Like littering in, littering in, littering in. This thing could rip up to 39.90. That's kind of where it looks like liquidity's sitting at. Some sellers move down. I mean, that 85.75 is definitely one of our levels, but that 33.90, there's been a seller sitting there all day. All day. So there's goes the 71. You get a little pop above. There it goes. There's those stops I was talking about. And then let's see if some buyers are back to buy yesterday's low. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to start the stream at 5 a.m. Pacific time so we can talk through the CPI together. So if you're interested in getting on a little bit early, I'll post the Zoom link for my people that are in my Zoom. And then also on YouTube, the channel will be live around that time, around 5:15-ish. If I can make it here an early day, I will do my best because I would like to watch it. I think watching it last week really helped. So I don't see the reason why not to just wake up early and watch it. Look at that G high, very mechanical off that F half back. Notice the high right there, guys. Right? It just seemed to kind of, you know, seemed to get some steam, and then buying just kind of slowed down, right? So it's basically what's happening here. And now that we're coming back down to the 71, it looks like buyers are having a little bit of trouble here finding their friends to lift this offer, and you're still getting some mechanical selling. But it seems like, I mean, even this F high was mechanical. They were able to pop it, but they weren't able to pop that E high that is mechanical as well. We still have single prints above, and then even this A high, if we really look at it, you know, it's right to or not the A high, the where was it at? Oh, maybe I'm confused. Oh, the C high, that's what it was. This C high is the exact value area high from yesterday. That's what it was. So you kind of have some mechanical levels left behind on the way down that are not saying that we're going to trade back up there, but those are just levels to carry forward into tomorrow or into the rest of today, as you know, if the market trades back up. Right? Just levels that you want to watch, because you know those are levels that on a second test probably won't hold because they are mechanical. The breadth is starting to pick up a little bit here. You're starting to see almost 4-1 on the New York Stock Exchange and 1.5 still on the NASDAQ. But the bigger names are still not getting sold off as hard. But every sector is red. So here goes a little pop. So look for the 85.75 and then the 90 above that is where the liquidity looks like it's at. The 90 has 349 contracts on it, which to me kind of looks like probably someone's take profit. It looks like there's a bigger player in the market today that is playing a game with people, right? And buying it here, bringing it up and selling it low, and just you know, balancing that market out. And now we're seeing the tick hit, you know, almost up on 1,000 here, and the market's definitely not making a high. So this could be showing that the market's getting a bit exhausted on the upside. Remember, you want to see the market pop that 85.75 to you know, show some real life. Every time we get up here, you just, you know, fall back down. It seems like we've just been kind of consistently making lower highs and one time framing lower almost the entire day, or I mean maybe the entire day, right? I don't think F took, yeah, the entire day. And value is, you know, lower now. Remember, acceptance in the spike or acceptance below the spike, according to spike rules, would say that the market is not done with these levels and wants to possibly explore a little bit lower. Balance inside the spike could act as support and bring it to the upside, but every time we get these pops here, they seem to just kind of die out, right? That G high got fixed, so it's not mechanical anymore. But you know, they weren't able to get back up to the settle or up to that F high, which is where more sellers are waiting to sell the F high. That's why I kind of think that we're going to go up there to that 90, because there's a lot of volume up there. Maybe the market needs that volume to get lower. And if that's a concept that you don't understand, like sometimes the market needs to go up to go down, you know, you've got to start studying how an auction works a little bit more, right? Figure out a way to assimilate understanding for yourself, you know, in a way that's beneficial. Back down to the 71 here. Apple's pulling back here a little bit. The breath is picking up on the NYSE. It's 4-1 now. So we're just watching for these tech stocks to go red, and then there's good odds that it turns down and gets some continuation. Watch the 60 here. That's where the volume's at, below a 60. Was picking up some steam to the downside. Not able to get down to that 60 yet. Sellers still seem to be stepping in here. Sellers are trying to get busy on the 63, it looks like. Almost there, 60 coming in. Just can't get there. A little bit of selling weakness to me. Is kind of what's alluding to that right there. Yeah, look at it start to go up. It just can't get to that 60. It tried twice pretty hard and just couldn't get down there. And that's where the liquidity's at. So it would make sense to get down there and get those orders. But if it can't, basically that's telling us that we don't have strong enough selling, and it's more of an unfair price. People don't really like to sell it down there. Oh, let's see what's the 60? Oh, like the 39.60. This right here, 39.60. So there's some volume, some resting orders sitting on the 60 down there that were, kind of tempting the market, like, hey, I'm down here, right? It's like imagine you're trying to buy a TV and the TV costs $39.66, but you only want to pay $39.60, and so you say, hey, I'll buy the TV if you sell it to me for $39.60. But every time we get down here, somebody else is moving up and say, oh, I'll take it for 61, I'll take it for 62, I'll take it for 63, right? And the market hasn't been able to get down there, and there's not enough supply, right? There's not enough TVs to just make these guys happy and sell it to them and then keep selling it to you down here at 60. And so then we see kind of this, this little back and forth that we're getting, but until we get down to the 60 and below, it's telling us there's a temporary lack of supply here, is what it appears to be to me. Yeah, of course. Any questions you got, definitely hit them. Hit them. You know, I love answering questions. Just like to teach. Here we go. Picking up a little bit of steam here. They're looking for the 60. That's where the liquidity's at. See if they can get it this time. Still no. Not yet, at least. Still holding. I mean, we're just hanging out down here below yesterday's low. And so I was saying, if we're looking for acceptance, if we can get acceptance below yesterday's low, there's good odds the next level down is at 33. You know, if they, but the first step is getting below this 60 and staying there. They're trying it. What's up, Cam? Good morning. If they can't get it again this time, you're probably looking back up to that 71 again. They're going for it. Oh, so close. They weren't able to get it. Look for the 71 again. Those poor bastards. So they're not able to get up to the 71. So there's still some sellers lurking. They're just being patient here. Buyers look to be stepping up here, though. They're just selling yesterday's low. The high looks mechanical. There it goes. Next level up is that 77.50, then 85.75. Volatility kicking in here a little bit. You're starting to see the market jump around a bit. Apple's back up to 1% up, but Amazon's still 1% down. The breadth is looking, pretty weak, but starting to try to turn up here, it looks like. And then the tick is, getting up close here back to 1,000 positive. There's that 77.50. If they hold that or get above it, you're looking for the 85.75. And then I still think that 90 has that liquidity up on the top. what they're searching for. Seeing a lot of selling here, it looks like, in this, in this most recent right here, it looks like there's a lot of selling, but the market's not really retreating at all, which may be an indication that sellers may be getting trapped here. Be careful if this thing goes. So they're battling that 77.50. Remember, if they hold this, that 85.75 is the next level up. If it does break that G high, that'll be the first time that we broke the one time framing lower. When one time framing lower all day, you imagine sellers are going to defend that G high. And they look to be moving down the 80 there. I'm watching Apple on the other screen. If Apple starts to break up out of balance, it'll probably take the market with it. So I'll keep a sharp eye here. Volume starting to pack in on this 80. Let's see if they get it. 10, they got it. There it goes. So there's a cessation of one time framing, barely. They haven't got the stops yet. Let's get them. Not yet. Get those stops. There they go. Remember, 85.75 was a level before that we saw sellers try to sell it down. They've done a pretty decent job, but above that, could start to see some weak hands start to cover, and they get a little bit scared. And start to cover short. Now let's just watch for the 90 level. So it looks like someone just took a bunch of profit up here. Buyer just took a bunch of profit. So who knows, might just fade back down. But there's a bunch of liquidity sitting on the 90 and a bunch of liquidity sitting on the 60. And we're just kind of bouncing back and forth between these two levels for, like the past hour. Maybe even longer. And then right back down. So they go up. That top tick was 85.25. They weren't able to get up to that 85.75 here. It was close though. Only 2 contracts traded at that high. Mechanical sellers trying to sell the previous high. They're losing it. Lost that love and feeling. Now it's gone. 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 Whoa, whoa, whoa. Name that movie.
Top Gun, baby.
Boom, nailed it. Second one's coming out soon. I'm pumped. I've seen that movie so many times, like so many times. Watch the 85.75 level here, guys. If they give it up, you know, and it's right before the settle, that could just, you know, could spook these sellers. These sellers are trying to sell right here to keep us back into that G range. They're trying to push on this G high. Oh yeah. Yeah, Cam, me too. Yeah, and my cousin, his dad was an Air Force pilot as a kid, and so he had like a you know, like a helmet with like the respirator on it and stuff. And so I'd like watch that movie with the helmet on, shield down, and just be like, you know, basically in the movie as a kid, you know, wishing I'll be a fighter pilot. So NASDAQ is up 1%. Oh no, it's up about 0.8% here. The Russell's down 1%, the Dow's down 0.5%, ES is down 0.1%, oil's down 3%, gold down 0.8%, Bitcoin's green, Apple's green, Microsoft, Google's green, Tesla's green, Amazon's almost back to green. You know, it just looks like it wants to go up. Just watching that 85.75, we pop that, we could get a nice little rip. So while the market's just kind of trying to figure out what it's going to do, let's read a passage from a book called The Daily Trading Coach. Because we talked about context earlier and how with every trade we have to see the right context. We can't just say, you know, if this happens, then I'm going to go long, or if the market goes here, I'm going to go long. There's always a lot more to it, right? And so we get into the book. It says, examining context. Philosopher Stephen Pepper coined the term contextualism to describe a world view in which truth is a function of the context in which knowledge is embedded. A short-term price pattern might have one set of expectations in a larger bull market, quite another under bear conditions. A short-term reversal in the first hour of trading has different implications than one that occurs midday. To use an example from the psychology of trading, you understand bear, right? One way on the highway, quite another way in the Alaskan wilderness. We can code the market data for context and then investigate patterns specific to those contexts. What we're really asking is, under the set of conditions that we find at the present, what is the distribution of future expectations? We're not pretending that these will be universal expectations, rather they are contextual, applicable to our current situation. Many of most fruitful trading hypotheses pertain to certain kinds of markets, not all markets all the time. Let's retrieve the practice sheet historical daily data from S&P 500 in the index that we used. Oh, this goes back into the previous lessons, and there's a lot of math. I'm not going to read math for you guys. That's just not going to be beneficial. Oh, Elon is live right now. What?
Hello, my name is Peter Campbell. I'm the Financial Times.
Oh, Jesus. We're starting to see acceptance here in this spike here. We just haven't seen any more selling, and right, this is kind of like how we talked about after this after that low. We're just getting this kind of balanced profile, excess on the upside. We now have better, like more excess on the downside. That G, I don't know if I want to say better, but just more. And the profile just seems to be balancing here. Trying to find Elon, but I don't see him anywhere. Apple's looking to break out of the upside of balance right here. It's up 1.3, Microsoft 1.5, Google 1.5, Amazon still down 0.5, Tesla's up 0.5%, Facebook Green, Johnson & Johnson, UNH, Nvidia. Nvidia's almost up 3% now. Oh, okay, I found it.
Maybe JB, well, certainly I wouldn't, probably not JB, would have wanted to go through the extreme pain of creating an electric car company if the traditional automakers were going to make electric cars. It's just an important thing for the world that needs to happen to move to a sustainable technology future. But if at the time that we created Tesla, there were no startups doing electric cars, and the big car companies had really no electric car programs going, and the few
market's moving down here a bit.
Electric car programs they had going, they were shutting down. So therefore, unless we tried to create an electric car, there was not one going to be created. It's not from the standpoint of thinking, hey, here's a super lucrative idea, let's start a car company. the history of card company startups is horrific.
Heading back down towards that 60 here.
They've almost all gone bankrupt. It's an incredibly big graveyard of car startups that
back down below yesterday's low.
You've only heard a tiny number of them, sort of the Tuckers and DeLoreans of the world, but there are hundreds of others that people didn't hear about. And
it pops right back up.
At this point in the United States, the only two American card companies that have not gone bankrupt.
Back to the 71, that's been a big level all day, pretty much.
And Tesla almost went bankrupt so many times, I lost count. So basically, it's a world of hurt. To start a car company is mega pain. It is not easy money. It's the furthest thing from easy money you could possibly imagine. And what I see with some of these new car companies is that they're jumping in at the deep end and trying to create a high volume vehicle that when they've never made a vehicle before. This is not practicing your athletic sport and then going to the Olympics. You're not going to win. This is crazy. You really need to start out small.
11 minutes until the next period opens up as well.
Make sure you've got a lot of reserve capital, and then gradually build up from the dumb things that you do at the beginning, and be less dumb over time. Otherwise, what will happen is vast losses of money. The car industry is.
This is how you know Elon's intelligence level, because he doesn't try to just speak these complicated terms that no one will understand. He's breaking it down so everybody can understand what he's saying, and that's why people like him.
They're hyper competitive, and they're used to being hyper competitive throughout the world. They have entrenched customers, dealers, service. Factories, existing expertise. These are veteran armies, like in fortresses. So it's extremely difficult.
Now, you happen to mention in that answer the word social media, which brings us very neatly onto the question of Twitter. So, JB, I'm going to say thank you so much. That was fascinating, brief history there of Tesla and the early years and the mistakes that you made. So thank you very much for being with us on stage. Thank you.
Well, on the Twitter front, there's not a lot that I can say because this is Twitter's a publicly traded company, and there are a lot of constraints in what I can say. So I'm not sure what you would like to ask, but most of the questions, the answer is going to be no comment.
That's all right. I can have a go. Let me ask you to put your product development hat on. And if you pair Twitter all the way back, what is it? And what do you think it can be in 10 years' time?
Well, what I've said is that I think Twitter is currently the best, or looked at another way, the least bad public square. A forum for the exchange of ideas nationally and internationally, but I think it could be a lot better at that. In order to be better at that, it needs to really get rid of the bots and the scams and spammers and basically and anyone trying to create sort of fake influence on the site by where it's one person or one entity operating 100,000 accounts, or obviously scammers are not good, and Twitter really needs to do a much better job at that. It also needs to build more trust with users. I think the way to do that is by open sourcing the algorithm, so everyone can see how the algorithm works and can suggest improvements and changes. I would literally just put the Twitter algorithm on GitHub and say, like, hey, anyone want to suggest changes to this? Please go ahead. And just, you really want transparency to build trust. And then any sort of adjustments to tweets or any human intervention with any account on Twitter should be highlighted as a Twitter person took the following action, with your account or with this tweet, so that you're not sort of sitting there in the dark wondering, why did this tweet not get any attention, or why did this one get a lot of attention? It's far too random, and then I think Twitter needs to be much more even-handed. It currently has a strong left bias because it's based in San Francisco. I don't think the people there necessarily intend, or at least perhaps some of them don't intend, to have a left bias. They just, from their perspective, it seems moderate, but they're just coming at it from an environment that is very far left. So, but then this fails to build trust in the rest of the United States and also perhaps in other parts of the world, because Twitter needs to be even-handed and be, I think I said publicly, victory would be that the most far right 10% and the most far left 10% are equally upset. I don't think this is a situation where you're going to get necessarily a lot of praise. you're just gonna balance the anger.
So how do you? Because people will automatically associate you with Tesla.
Apple's coming down here,
with Twitter.
down below 1%.
Is there any risk in your mind that the
Amazon's
actions that you're
down
going to take at Twitter,
1%.
which you've admitted freely, will upset some people?
You got Johnson & Johnson,
potentially
UNH flipping
lead
back to red.
A commercial impact on Tesla?
I'm confident that we will be able to sell all the cars we can make. I mean, currently, the lead time for ordering a Tesla is ridiculously long. So our issue is not demand, it is production.
But that's at the moment because of the global supply chains and the chip shortages. That's less around electric car demand, which we are expecting to go absolutely through the roof. And you obviously have very ambitious targets for that at Tesla.
Yeah, I mean, even before there was the supply chain issues, Tesla demand exceeded production. So now its demand is exceeding production to a ridiculous degree. We're actually probably going to limit or just stop taking orders for anything beyond a certain period of time, because some of the timing is like a year away. So
we're saying that they're going to stop taking orders here. That can't be great.
The frustration that we're seeing from customers is being unable to
see how Tesla likes it. Tesla's green still.
Give them a car.
Tesla's gassing up to about 0.5% up now.
Or interested in
Amazon's catching a bid.
So basically, I think zero about demand generation and a lot about production and engineering and supply chain.
I have two more questions on Twitter, if I may, before we turn for the rest of the session.
Remember, the 85.75 is the level you're looking for to break on the top, and the 60 is the level you're looking for to break on the low. We haven't done it in a while now.
And is there a risk,
because
you're putting a lot of your personal stake up for this,
45 minutes in this range.
Is there a risk that if it all goes south, you're imperiling your stake in Tesla, potentially hurting Tesla financially and maybe even SpaceX, if it all goes to pot? That's the technical term.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, I think there's still a lot of things that need to get done before this deal concludes. Obviously, there's not yet even been a shareholder vote. And Twitter has not yet filed the proxy for a shareholder vote. So there are still, some outstanding questions that need to be resolved. So it is certainly not a done deal. Just objectively, it is not a done deal. The best case.
Well,
scenario
that he makes himself laugh. That's the best.
I think perhaps done in 2 or 3 months. Yeah.
And the final question, and this is really the two-paid elephant in the room: are you planning to let Donald Trump back on?
Well, I think there's a general question of should Twitter have permanent bans? And I've talked with Jack Dorsey about this, and he and I are of the same mind, which is that permanent bans should be extremely rare and really reserved for people where they're trying to, for accounts that are bots or spam scam accounts, where there's just no legitimacy to the account at all.
Ooh. Seems like the market kind of likes that. He's kind of saying like maybe Trump's coming back to Twitter.
It was not correct to ban Donald Trump. I think that was a mistake because it alienated a large part of the country and did not ultimately result in Donald Trump not having a voice. He is now going to be on Truth Social, as will a large part of the sort of the right in the United States, and so. I think
Bid is stepping up here on the 80.
Frankly, worse.
Let's see if they can take the market up. They're trying to hold the 80 here. Could be more profit taking.
I guess the answer is that I would reverse the perma ban. Obviously, I don't own Twitter yet, so this is not like a thing that will definitely happen. Because what if I don't own Twitter? But my opinion, and Jack Dorsey, I want to be clear,
the 85.75
is that we should not have perma bans. Now that doesn't mean that somebody gets to say whatever they wanted to say.
There
if they say something that is illegal or otherwise
mechanical selling off the settle,
just destructive to the world.
That volume sitting up there on the 90s still.
A timeout, a temporary suspension, or that particular tweet should be made invisible or have very limited traction. But I think
looks like it wants to keep going.
Just fundamentally undermine trust.
Let's watch how it acts at the 90, but it looks like it might want to keep going.
Town square.
Remember that E high is a mechanical high, so that could be the destination for now.
It was I think it was a morally bad decision, to be clear, and foolish in the extreme.
Even after he egged on the crowd who went to the US Capitol, some of them carrying nooses, you still think it was a mistake to remove him?
There it goes.
If there are tweets
that period opens up, let's see how much they can bid.
Those should be
or lift his offers. His buyers show up in force. They need some buyers to initiate here to continue taking price higher and fix this E high.
Suspension is appropriate, but not a permanent ban.
So if the deal completes, he might potentially come back on, but with the understanding that if he does something similar again, he'll be back in the sin bin.
The sin bin.
He has publicly stated that he will not be coming back to Twitter,
and
that he will only be on Truth Social. And this is the point that I'm trying to make, which is perhaps not getting across.
So it fixes that E high.
Banning Trump from Twitter.
And now we wait to see if it wants to test those singles, see if it can get up to fix that C high. Remember, this is just my opinion, but I think that C high is mechanical, being right off the value area high of the previous day.
Okay, thank you.
As we're re-entering the value from yesterday, pay attention for acceptance. We could get acceptance in here, back inside value, and then
for the future,
opportunity to trade back up
to be able to make 20 million
repair
cars
that
a year
C
by
high.
2030, which would make it the same size as Toyota and Volkswagen combined today. Give us a sense. What does the business look like by 2030 to make 20 million cars? Plants, footprints, models.
Apple broke out of balance to the upside. Next level up for Apple's 155.
Announcing new products.
Looking to get up there.
New Tesla products.
The tick is smacking above 1,000 right now.
20 million by 2030 is an aspiration, not a promise. And the reason for aiming for something like that is there are approximately 2 billion cars and trucks in the world. And for us to really make a dent in sustainable energy and electrification, I think we need to replace at least 1% of the fleet per year to really be meaningful. And that's where the 20 million units comes from. Let's try to replace 1% of the global fleet of 2 billion cars and trucks per year. That's our aspiration. It's not a promise, it's an aspiration. I think we've got a good chance of getting there. And people will see, based on the products that we unveil, will be able to judge for themselves whether that goal is realistic or not.
Now, you've gone from 0 plants to 4 plants. that would require you to get to possibly about 20 plants, depending how they're ramped up. Is that phase more difficult, what you've got ahead of you by 2030, than what's gone behind, given you've already done it? Or do you still think it's more difficult to ramp to that level?
I think it's close. It's roughly, the sheer amount of stuff that Tesla's done is, I think, quite mind-boggling. We have an incredible team at Tesla and executing very well. And our annual growth rates are faster than any large manufactured product in the history of Earth. I think the next fastest was the growth of the Model T, and we're faster than the Model T. So, you know, if that growth rate continues, then
if the market gets over that 4,000, next level up is going to be kind of that 9 to 11. It looks like. Remember yesterday's point of control was 1550.
Not reach that goal.
Or what was it?
But I'd say on
19 quarter.
It's roughly
and then
equally difficult.
The top of those single prints sitting at about 22 or 23.
And what's the biggest uncertainty with getting to 2030? Is it manufacturing ramping? Is it the raw materials? Is it something else?
There are some raw material constraints that we see coming.
Interviewer sucks.
In lithium production, probably in about 3 years.
He's probably, I mean, he has that book. He's probably, those questions are just written down.
The cathode, the two main cathode choices are nickel and iron phosphate. Obviously, iron is extremely plentiful. The Earth is 32% iron by composition. So if a little bit of trivia, if someone says, what is Earth made of? The single biggest element that Earth is made of is iron. The second biggest element that Earth is made of is oxygen, which is about 30% of Earth mass. So clearly iron's not in short supply.
There goes the D high.
Phosphate is slightly more of a challenge, but still quite common. So I do not see any fundamental scaling constraints. And lithium is also quite common. So lithium is practically everywhere. So this is not a question of a shortage of like, as though it's some rare element. It's really just that the lithium mining and especially the refining capacity and that of taking iron and phosphorus and turning it into battery grade iron phosphate.
So this 10 level was an important level earlier today, where we got a bit of a
I think the single biggest constraint would be the
some sellers to come in. So watch this 10 level again.
Battery grade materials. And we're working on that.
And it happens to be the halfback as well, so you might see some selling here if they try it.
Along the way to
if they give up the 10, I mean, we're talking 17, well, 1450, 1775, 20, 23 quarter, and then 32. Looks like the targets
above. Said is not true. Iron phosphate batteries are fully recyclable.
Good. Well, that's
you can see they're battling again over the 10 here. Sellers are trying to find a spot to sell here.
Is completely recyclable, and
what is the halfback? Is that like prior day EQ on
thank you. I stand corrected.
Can I ask why you think it's halfway between the line high and the low halfback. Yeah. So today's halfback is 9 quarter, and today's halfback. Excuse me. Today's halfback, remember, is a dynamic reference because it changes based off of range extension. So if we extend to the low side or extend to the upside,
yes,
we can, today's halfback will change. But if we look over at yesterday's profile, yesterday's halfback was right here at the 1950, right on the point of control. And so yesterday's profile, even though we did end up breaking the low, was a fairly balanced profile, just an ugly profile. And you know, above that halfback, that 1975, you might, I mean, honestly, I think if we get above that, we're definitely closing the singles. And then, like I said, I think the C high is mechanical, a fix of that. And then we might see some responsive sellers, more responsive sellers up there.
And geothermal and hydro, basically sustainable energy sources. But solar and wind particularly.
But remember, we have a weak spot right here in the
So you
profile
need
today, which
stationary
happens to be
to store the energy
bearish
when the
traded
sun
price
doesn't shine.
yesterday. You could
So
see,
you have
right,
constant,
responsive sellers just move down and sell it right here.
when the wind doesn't blow.
This still be responsive selling
But you can have,
because they're selling
you can
yesterday's point of
completely convert. I
control.
want to be very clear about this. All of Earth.
So if you
all of
are
Earth
long, you know,
can
don't just be sitting here with your take
powered
profit
by
up at
solar
this
and wind,
23. You know,
stationary battery
be
packs,
smart
and
here
electric transport.
and you know, take some profit.
You could power
Don't be afraid.
several. Even if Earth's economy were
Don't
to,
be scared.
you could do 10 times what Earth's economy is with solar. Wind
Don't strike out trying to hit a home run
transport.
when you know that you can get on
That's not the
base
first thing.
almost every time, right?
I think most people just have not done the basic math of just how much energy hits the Earth from the sun. It's a kilowatt.
Did anybody ever play?
Or said another way,
Elon's not really saying anything interesting. Did anybody ever play baseball or any sports where you didn't have enough people, and so you had to do what's called like a ghost runner, right? Anyone vibing with that or no? Apple's really breaking out to the upside, guys. Apple's up 2.5%. The market looks like it wants to just go. If I'm being honest. Get some selling here though first before it gets able to fill, but there's a lot of buying in the overall market. The Nasdaq breath is actually flipped to green here. You can see the tick is just banging its head against the top, just trying to go up, pulling back down a little bit here, but you can see the divergence between unweighted and weighted sectors here. You can see Apple breaking up into this upper balance. This line here is more of a long-term trend, and this is something that I just drew right now that I can get rid of. As I was waiting for that breakout. But you can see Apple 2%, almost 2.5%, Microsoft 2.5%, Google 2%, Amazon flip back to green, Tesla is just loving this, up almost 3%, Facebook up 2%, UNH, Johnson & Johnson flip back to green, and look at Nvidia. Nvidia is getting the gas. We just looked at this and it was up like 2.5%, and it's just starting to get some gas to the upside. Still making a lower high though. This is definitely something that we want to pay attention to on Nvidia. So watch for here. This is what we were talking about. This kind of 19 to 23 level. Maybe some responsive sellers show up in this area. So we just got to be careful. If not, I think that C high, that 3250 is really the target there. You're getting some selling on the DOM here, it looks like. On the 20. But if they give up the 20, you go 23.25. And then 32 looks like the next level above that. A little bit of a struggle fest here. Let's see if they can get it. There we go. Pop it up, take it to the 32. Sometimes the market just needs a little bit of encouragement, guys. You just gotta tell it, like, all right, come on. Almost closed those singles. Didn't really see a huge response. Look at that level, right where point of control's at. Looked more like capitulation from sellers, just kind of being like, whoa, I'm not selling it there. And it popped right back up, but we're not seeing it close those singles yet. So they're basically, they popped right above it. Let's see if they do a little bit of backfilling. If they don't, they're basically giving buyers an opportunity to come in to say, hey, we want to take this thing up. If not, they're just going to absorb. And you can see they're pulling back down into that weak volume. So this is going to become a key spot where buyers need to step up in order to get continuation to the upside here. Apple's breaking out. I mean, Apple's just almost back at the high now. Looking to break up against the high. The breadth is down from 3.5 to only being 1-to-1 negative on the NYSE and 1.3 positive on the Nasdaq. A lot of text is just powering up here, but coming into resistance. So, which is what the market is coming into here, is a little bit of resistance. So be careful. We close the singles, they hold that support. So now watch for them to start attacking at 32.50. That's the target up. 32, excuse me, 32. And remember, we said if Bitcoin is able to break up, it's held that level, that 38.27, a good amount of times now. Yesterday in the Asia Open, and then today during the U.S. cash session, you've got this prior point of control where we spent a lot of time up above that, might act as a gravitation or gravity pull if we're able to break above these highs here, 32.36, 32.9, and then 33.4, 33.5. Mechanical selling here, it looks like. But with that, it is 10:44 my time, and I need to get a workout in. So I appreciate everybody tuning in. I hope everyone learned something. If not, I hope you all had a little bit of fun. If you are able, or hang on, let me see. On your BTC chart, how do you get your levels? You're spot on for EG with the 38.6 level, but was it golden pocket? But you don't use fibs. No, I don't. Is there TPO volume profile way of finding the same levels? I just look at the structure. So when I'm marking my levels, a lot of these levels, I had to go way back to find the levels, but a lot of them I'm just looking for where the market is building structure. So just kind of jam it in like this. And what I did is I just scrolled back, let it load. Where are we at here? Been a while since we've been down here. Yeah, so I just scrolled back and, just marked where you can see, you can see this level is a big area. It gets pulled in, back and forth. And then eventually it holds it as support and moves up. Boom, that's my level. Another thing here, hold support on top of this, I just put a level. Same thing here, right? This level is a previous low. A lot of times that's where I'll mark my levels are at previous lows. If you get a lot of previous lows or previous highs in common, that tells you it's an area of interest and the market's interested in going back there. Look at rejected here, rejected here, rejected here, used to be support, used to be resistance, used to be support. So I know that this 32.906 is going to be a big level going forward. That's pretty much all I do to find levels. There's no like rhyme or reason. I mean, and that's why, even though I don't really use fibs, I don't think that I don't think that they just don't work. I just don't use them. They're just not something that is in my tool belt, right? I know Peter Reznicek uses them, and I'd like to learn a little bit more, but until right now my time is not really allocated to be able to kind of dive into something new. I'm focused on a thing right now, so I'm trying to finish that first. I have a squirrel brain, so if I start to get into something, I can't get in halfway. I gotta find the end of the rabbit hole, and so then it really consumes me. I'm trying to be careful about stuff like that. But I mean, that's pretty much it. It's just market structure. That's all it is. And especially with crypto, I just, just try to remain patient as possible. Because eventually the market's going to tell you what it wants to do. Oh, if we break out of the high, I'm gonna be fucking amped. I just don't think we will, but I will be amped. We could. What time is it? 11 hour till power hour. We'll see if we can get some steam. I think we might clean up this 3250, and then we'll see what happens after that. But yeah, make sure you guys are managing risk and sticking to your trade plan. If you don't have a trade plan, make sure you jump in the Discord and just ask around. People will definitely share. Got a community full of great people that love to help out. And yeah, other than that, you guys have a wonderful day. I'll be in the Discord if anyone needs anything. Just give me a shout. All right, Adam, you have a good day. You too, Trin. Thank you. So big seller here again at the same spot. Selling that value area high again. A pop of that take us to the 40, probably 40. Which is about 10 ticks below the, or 10 points below the open, but that's where the volume's at up there. Around this 40 level. And then 40-50 being the open, ton of volume there. All right, you guys have a wonderful day.
All right, take it easy, man.
Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, definitely. See you later, Tommy. See you, Dad. See you, Pop.